lot of times I do talk about what I do for work, but I also like to introduce kind of my identities, kind of who I am, my extra layers, because that helps you see how I might see the world or how I might experience the world around me. So I am Black, I am American. Apologize for that for some reason, I don't know. I am queer, I am a woman, I am the mother of God, he'll be 25 years old in May. I know, shock, awe. I have a disability. I am of a seasoned age. And I'm fabulous. So those are all. Thank you. Those are all of the ways that I kind of see and experience the world around me. And so now that you know me a little bit more, I'm going to play a really quick video.
The world of work is changing rapidly. Driven by technology at an unprecedented, perhaps uncontrollable pace. The fear is palpable. And yet, can great change not also present great opportunity? We believe it can. Because in this moment of uncertainty, we have the opportunity to drive what comes next. By gathering today as industry leaders, sharing our experiences and ideas, we can galvanize each other, find common ground, and start asking the right questions. So that each bias we dismantle, every orthodoxy we challenge, every boldly human solution will help us bring about a future that can work better. One that begins here, now, today.
You can clap, it's okay. So I wanted to start off with a little bit of inspiration, but welcome to all of the dreamers, the doers, and everyone in between. Life can feel a little bit chaotic. I think I'm not alone in feeling that, especially right now. It feels a little bit chaotic, and when you have awareness and intentionality and you really understand your sense of purpose, those are really the foundations of hope. There is a lot of hopelessness and loneliness right now in the world. And so when you kind of understand your purpose and the impact you want to make, it gives you some level of hope for the future. So I'm going to talk to you today about living on purpose, living in purpose, walking in purpose, walking in these heels. It's all a part of it, thank you. So I have a great quote here by Kofi Annan, who I'm sure you all know is the former Secretary General of the United Nations. His quote says, "To live is to choose. But to choose well, you must know who you are and what you stand for, where you want to go, and why you want to get there." I think that is a perfect quote for what we're talking about today and the whole theme of purpose for this summit. So we're going to do a little bit of mindfulness and reflection. I would love for you all to take a really deep breath with me. Ooh, that was good. I want you to stay in that place and be really, really present with me today. Kind of get stuff off your shoulders. Forget that email you just saw from work. that text that your kid sent asking for things. Or really just be present. This is all about you. So when I think about living on purpose, there's three things that I think as an individual you have to do. You have to have authentic introspection. It's nobody else's business what you need to work through when you're thinking about your purpose. Know thyself, trust thyself. You know you better than anybody else. And lastly, progress over perfection. It's not always going to be a smooth ride. Things will come along on the way. So I'm going to tell you two really quick stories about these three things and how they've affected me as I've tried to figure out my purpose in life. So earlier on in my career, I'm working for a company. We're watching a motivational speaker. His name is Richard Montañez. If you don't know him, there's a documentary about him. He went from janitor to executive at Pepsi. Has a really interesting story. So he's telling us his life journey, and I'm in the front row, and I'm all inspired. And he stops, and he looks at me, and he says, "There is greatness in you." Into my eyeballs, like in my soul. And I'm like, me? And he goes on with the rest of his story. Didn't even address it, didn't know my name, doesn't know me from anybody else. And at the time, I was really struggling to figure out what I was doing in my career, what I was doing in my life. I had a lot of shame about what I thought I didn't have that my colleagues had. And, you know, guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is I am something wrong. It's so much deeper than guilt. And so I really didn't understand what he saw in me that I didn't see in myself, but it was a moment. So part of my identities that I shared with you, I am also a preacher's kid. My dad's a minister. And growing up in a Black Baptist church, we did some call and response. So I'm going to do that with you right now. It's nothing religious, don't worry. So I want you to turn to your neighbor, to your left or your right, turn to your neighbor, and say, "Neighbor." It's one word, people. It's one word. We're going to try this again. It's just one word. You're going to look at your neighbor and say, "Neighbor, there is greatness in you." Do you feel it? Do you feel that? So even if you don't know the person next to you, you have no idea what their name is, I guarantee you, you just gave them a special gift today, and that just shifted the atmosphere. Another really quick story is I was a little later in my career. I was at a conference for women of color, and I'm in the speaker's room. It's a really long conference table. I am really upset about work. I'm not present at all. I'm not talking to the rest of the speakers. I'm furiously typing. And at one point, I just said, "You know what?" I shut my laptop. I kind of chucked it to the side. And I said, "I'm going to be present today because this is what's important." Everybody's talking about things like well-being and epigenetics and biology and all of these things where I was like, whoa, these are some pretty phenomenal speakers. And I'm talking about what I do for a living, and a person who's now my friend, Raj Kumari Yogi, that's an epigenetics coach, was at the very end of the table, came right in front of me, again, looked right into my eyeballs, and said, "Why are you doing this work for this company?" And I have a little bit more confidence than I did before, so internally I'm like, "You don't know me?" You know? Like, how are you going to speak on what I'm doing? And they said, no, I don't have a problem with the company, but why aren't you doing this work for the world? And I'm like, oh, here we go again. Again, this person doesn't know me. I don't even know if they know my name, but I went through all of these emotions. I need benefits. I have a son to raise. All of these excuses, and they let me have my moment, but later we kind of worked through what was stopping me from stepping into what my purpose actually is. So when you think about your purpose, there's no trinality here. It is harmonious alignment. There's no work-life balance kind of thing. Most people think balance means 50-50, and I don't know about any of you, but I don't have 50-50 in anything in my life. Not at home, not at work, not in myself. And so when you think about your purpose, you also want to think about, am I living my purpose in my career? Am I living my purpose in my personal life? So when you think about harmonious alignment, I did this for myself, for you all. So my purpose is to improve the happiness and well-being of people throughout the world. I truly believe that that is my purpose. For my career, I work at Indeed, and so my career is to help all people get economic security and mobility by reducing bias and removing barriers to employment. And in my personal life, I think my purpose is simple. It's to help myself, my family, and my friends thrive. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how this comes to life in my career at Indeed. So Indeed has the world's largest study on work well-being. We have over 220 million data points on well-being and counting. That means over 20 million individual people have completed surveys about work well-being. And we know that 90% of people believe it matters how you feel at work. As part of this, we think through lots of different dimensions like trust and flexibility and belonging, but these are the 4 outcomes of work well-being. Do you feel happiness at work most of the time? Does your job have a sense of purpose? Overall, are you completely satisfied with your job? And do you feel stress at work, or lack of stress at work? These are the outcomes of work well-being. Again, there's lots of different root causes and reasons why, but I don't think that it is far-fetched to say being at the World Happiness Summit and talking about a sense of purpose isn't pretty spot on for what this survey entails. So again, harmonious alignment. I want you all to think about that for yourselves. Again, it's nobody's business what it is, but think through it. What is my purpose? How does that align to my career? How does that align to my personal life? We talked before about progress over perfection. You have to embrace some of the challenge because there will be some. Challenge right now. Let's get to the next slide. Okay, so challenges can foster creativity, resilience, and really help you through abundant growth. Challenges aren't always bad. Sometimes those challenges really help you work through what your purpose truly is. You have to craft a nourishing ecosystem. A nourishing ecosystem. So I want you all to imagine everyone in this room, in some small or large part, is here because you all care for the health and happiness and well-being of others in this world. This is your community. This is your ecosystem. So that same person that you turned to and said, there is greatness in you, know that by creating these relationships with each other, you are helping to support each other as well. You need to establish and then respect boundaries. Maybe for you, you care about well-being in policy. Maybe for you, you care about well-being in policy and research. Maybe for you over there, you care about well-being at work. Maybe you care about full life satisfaction. There's lots of ways to care about what your purpose is and the impact you can make, but you can't do everything for everyone everywhere. So hone in to your priorities, create those boundaries, and respect them. And then when you figure it out, remember I have said it's nobody's business to go through your introspective process. But once you figure it out, shout it from the mountaintops, at least the rooftops, open a window, scream it into a pillow if you got a sleeping kid. I don't know, but declare it. Communicate it to others so they understand what your purpose is, and who knows, you might share that same purpose with others in your ecosystem, in your community that you share. This one is the hardest for me. Give it time. I am working on patience. I'm working on patience, but give it time and then make it count. Give it time, meaning be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself, give yourself grace. Make it count, even if you can make it measurable, quantifiable, qualifiable, but be able to talk about the impact that you make in the world. Once you know your purpose, again, you've shouted it from the rooftops, you have to allow yourself to ruthlessly prioritize your purpose. Anything that you have to do, is this aligned? Is this still in a harmonious alignment with what I need to do? Does this make sense for me? Is this gonna take me along the journey for the purpose that I have and make the impact that I want? I mentioned at Indeed the work that I do, but this is our mission. This is our purpose as a company. We help people get jobs. I like to say for myself and my team, we help all people get jobs. So as you think through today, what your purpose is and your harmonious alignment is, I want you to walk in your purpose as fiercely as I'm walking in these heels today. Thank you so much for your time.